Hello. I wonder if you would like to have a little conversation with me today about codependency and self sabotage. This is a completely unrehearsed and unplanned conversation. I don't have any notes anywhere. I just really felt I wanted to get on and share some of the things that I've been thinking about. This has been on my mind a little bit. I've had a few clients that have asked for more support around this. I've also been doing a lot of reels on self sabotage. You know, that thing that happens, that pattern, that the things that you say, the things that you do that undermine your success, that impact your relationships, and that have you feeling pretty bad about yourself afterwards, and maybe even a little bit helpless because you've probably tried pretty hard to stop running those behaviors for a really long time and maybe not been that successful. I think what would be really helpful is to firstly have a conversation about self sabotaging behavior. I used to have a perception of that as, like if I want to succeed, if I want to do really well at work, self sabotaging might be I just don't step up and work as hard as what I should to be successful and to get somewhere. However, self sabotage is a lot more than that. And if you look at the word sabotage of self, if you think that there is an authentic self inside of us. And this might not be the version of you that plays out in your relationships. Your authentic self is the part of you that is whole, that is not operating from separation, feels quite peaceful. In that moment, when you're in that moment, when you are in your true nature, in your authentic self, there's a feeling of everything is okay right here, right now. Sometimes you can have that feeling when you go out into nature, when you're looking at a newborn child, when you're playing with a pet, when you're doing something you love and you're in that flow. I know that when I'm in my true nature, when I am authentic, it is the most empowered place for me to be. It generates a feeling that allows me to say what I need to say, do what I need to do, and show up for myself in every situation. I don't throw myself under a bus. I don't do things that I feel obliged to do that I know are not going to be good for my well-being. I don't help others at my own sacrifice when I'm in my authentic self. If I'm in the other version of me that has maybe become an identity because of past hurts, because of childhood experiences, that other version of me that might feel not good enough, may be doing things to keep other people happy, to make sure that she still belongs, to make sure that she's accepted, to people please, to feel secure. That version of me runs a dynamic of relationship, which really never gets me what I want. But back to the authentic self. So when you can stand in your wholeness and when you can feel that sense of empowerment, I'm here for me. A self-sabotaging behavior or self-sabotage would be the sabotage of that self. I'm sabotaging my true self with these behaviors. I'm sabotaging my capacity to be who I truly am by these behaviors. And that, when you think of it like that, might give you a pretty strong impetus to do something about it, right? Which is good. I want you to feel that. The other thing I'd like to draw your attention to is codependency. So there's a lot of talk around codependency. What I've noticed is if I'm not in my true self, if I'm working from that version of me that feels not good enough, that is experiencing lack, that feels unloved, that feels, like there's something missing, that version of me that I may have created as a child in order to assure my safety in my environment and with my parents. Because you think about it, as a child, you have a big choice to make. A child arrives on this planet in their wholeness, perfect, really. Like these little babies, just like they're so beautiful. And most people love being around these little babies because they just feel so good. They're just generating love. We were all once that. And then as we grow older, the messages that we get back from our environment and our parents pose a very existential question to us, even though we don't have the rationality to think like that or the logic. But on a feeling level, we start to understand that in order for us to stay safe in this environment and to be loved and to be cared for, we may have to not be our authentic self. So if the true me wants to, I don't know, say drill a hole in the wall and just figure out what that feels like as a 5-year-old, there might be another part of me that might go, oh no, I can't do that. I can't have that experience because my parents wouldn't be happy with me. I would feel a lack of connection. There'd be a withdrawal of love and my safety, because remember, for a child, being loved and feeling connected is equivalent to survival. So I have to make a choice. I don't speak up when I have a feeling. I don't protect myself as an 8-year-old when something happens by using my words, because I have this other part of me that has to assure my survival. So I don't speak. I hold it all in. I learn to people please. I learn to do all the things that I know will keep my parents happy and will have me being accepted with my friends and in my society and my culture. So back to right now, that version of me that was created as a child to keep other people happy, that actually isn't who you really are. You might believe that's who you are. I certainly believe that. What keeps me separate and not even aware that there is an authentic me that can sit in wholeness is all the emotions that I haven't processed. All of those emotions that I held back, all of those words I never said, they're all there, like they're sort of in between. And if I can access them and process them and learn to lean into them, then I'm creating a bridge between the version of me that is separate and not whole and has lack and feels insecure, and the version of me that feels complete. When I'm in this version of me, because I'm not whole, I always feel like there's something missing. And I do a lot of things to try and get that feeling of being okay inside myself, a lot of things to try and fill that void. That's where self-sabotaging behaviours come in, because I can't be the whole me, because if I was, this version of me is at risk. This version of me that on some level, unconsciously, I believe keeps me safe is going to be threatened. Hence the self-sabotaging behaviours. Now, a self-sabotaging behaviour happens in the same way that a codependent behaviour happens. When I'm not feeling whole, when I'm not feeling empowered, I have a strategy that was designed early on in my child mind to keep me safe, to keep me loved, to keep me connected. Now, as a child, it's quite brilliant, really, when you think of it, because children have no resources, and yet they've created these amazing, amazing, and sometimes very complex strategies to keep themselves emotionally safe. Now, as an adult, very rare that those strategies work for us, right? They continue to sabotage our capacity to come back into our wholeness. The other thing they do is they sabotage our relationships. A sabotaging pattern is when I am not connected to myself. I'm not living from my authentic state. When I'm in a codependent behavior, I'm doing exactly the same thing. I'm walking away from me. They're one and the same. As I walk away from me to keep somebody else happy or to get an emotional need met from the outside, I sabotage my capacity to show up for myself. I sabotage my capacity to know myself and understand myself. Many of our relationships are based on a dynamic of relationship. They're not real relationships. When I'm in a dynamic of relationship, I have this unconscious agreement with you that I'm going to show up for you. I might sacrifice myself to meet your needs. I might not speak up. I won't say what I think I need to say. I won't criticize you. I'm going to look after your feelings. I'm going to rescue you when you feel bad and take responsibility for your feelings. And in return, you're going to love me and keep me safe. And I'm going to feel connected and I'm going to feel okay in myself. That is the unconscious agreement that, like within, many variations of that. But this unconscious agreement that we go into with our partners and family members, and we've signed the contract, right? Like we've been there, we've got the agreement in our head, and we're showing up how we're meant to. We're doing all the things we're meant to do. We've signed the document. They don't even know about the agreement. So when they don't show up how we think they should, we have a feeling it impacts our emotional well-being. On another level, I'm actually giving them responsibility for my emotional well-being. It's like, here you go. I'm going to feel okay as long as you do all of these things. And I'm going to hold you to that consciously or unconsciously. I'm not taking responsibility for my own emotional well-being. Not that I'm a bad person or that I'm ignorant, but I just was never taught how to. What I was taught was to look outside and to try and change my environment or manipulate people in some way so that they or the environment makes me feel better. And I use manipulation in a very loose sense of the word, right? Because I know I certainly had so many manipulations, i.e., codependent behaviours, but I didn't realise that they were manipulations. And they were never, rarely actually, I did as a child have some, what's the word, deliberate manipulations, but a lot of them weren't. A lot of them weren't because, I was wanting something for myself. It was just this unconscious need to make myself feel okay. So I would really love to invite you to keep an eye on your self-sabotaging behaviors and think of them as the way that you've learned to get an emotional need met, not in a healthy way because it really doesn't work long term. And if you don't believe me, investigate it. Have a look at your relationships. If I put myself as a mum and a wife at the bottom of the list, right, I make myself the last priority because I want to be needed. I want to be part of this family. I want to stay safe. I want people to love me. I want to feel I'm secure in that role because I'm important. I can do that. But how often do you actually feel appreciated? How often do you feel this is such a great thing? I feel amazing in my body, sacrificing all of my well-being to keep everybody happy. Does it bring you joy? That behavior, which I think is so common for women and probably a lot of men too, is a really great example of a self-sabotaging or codependent behavior. And the way to work through these things is actually through the emotional world. Now, the challenge with that is that you probably know a lot of this stuff I'm saying. You've probably read so much about it. You've probably learned all about what you should do about it, and you're probably aware that it doesn't serve you. But all of that is head knowledge. It's very easy to get information. It's easy to learn about stuff. It's easy to read books and be an expert at what you do and put a sign up on your door and say, I am a this and I deal with those things. Because I've learned all the information and I can prove it because I've got a certificate to show it. I'm just going to ask you, if you've noticed that that's not working, please consider that your thinkings cannot help with your feelings. They won't heal a feeling. In order to deal with our feelings, we have to feel. We have to get into our heart. We have to get into our bodies. We have to feel what's going on. And when I feel differently, when I understand how to meet my own emotional needs, I change my lifestyle. This is a lifestyle shift, right? It's incredibly practical. it's not mental. It's definitely emotional, but it's not, because I think sometimes people think emotional stuff is a little bit airy-fairy because you can't conceptualize it. Yeah, that's true. You can't conceptualize it because it's a feeling, right? How do you put a feeling into words? Sometimes you can't because it's an experience. So, in order for us to shift from self-sabotaging behavior to self-loving behaviors, we have to navigate the journey of our own emotional well-being. And that is a feeling process. That's what I help people with. And if that's something that you would like to learn a little bit more about, I will be running a 2-hour masterclass on Wednesday, the 17th of April. It's $44 for 2 hours. I intend to show you the process of actually taking the self-sabotaging behavior and crossing that bridge into your true self. Raising that awareness, but also giving you a real life actionable process that you can use every single day when you notice that you might be performing behaviors that really don't serve your highest self. And I'm inviting you into this masterclass right now because I truly believe that there's a calling for us to come back into our true nature right now and be in our right place. I've noticed that when I'm in my right place, when I'm operating from my true nature every day, like this is my lifestyle, then I can show up for myself in a way that means I can show up and support other people. I'm not abandoning myself, so I can be here for you while I'm still being here for me. And because I'm in my right place, I'm doing exactly what I'm here to do on this planet. My unique gifts, my unique skills, my unique presence is where it needs to be right now for the greatest help and influence on anybody around me. And that is the same for every single one of us. Because of our self-sabotaging or self-sacrificing or codependent behaviors, many of us find ourselves in a situation where we're not doing what we want to do. We're not doing a job we love. And not that you have to be so in love with your job, but you know in your heart if this is where you're meant to be. You may have settled for a relationship because you were frightened of being alone. And you know in your heart that you've settled. You know in your heart it's not quite right. And you may be finding right now that you're at a crossroads. I do believe that that's happening for a reason. We are evolving as a species, and part of that evolution is understanding the emotional self, understanding what's really going on in the unconscious, and learning some new skills and tools so that we can live a lifestyle where we can be in the experience of our life and be completely present in our own life. That just creates so much connection. It also diffuses fear. It feels empowering inside. It feels knowing. It brings up a resonance where when I speak, the words I speak can be heard by other people. There's no blame. There's none of the persecution, none of those things, because I don't need to run those patterns, those dynamics. I've stepped out of a dynamic of relationship, which is like a loop, right? And that's why when you try to fix it, you stay in the loop of trying to fix it. You never actually get out of it. But by learning a new process, a new lifestyle process for dealing with your emotions, you can drop the loop. You can come back into your authentic self, into your true nature. And from that place, you create relationships that are actually the relationships that you really long for. You know, relationships that feel really supportive and you just feel so appreciated. You feel the love, you feel the connection. You feel like that person and you are present together. You also feel more empowered in yourself. You trust yourself because you've stopped throwing yourself under a bus. You've stopped sacrificing yourself. So, actually, I know that I can trust me. I know that I can show up for me. That's a powerful thing to be able to say. It's powerful and empowering to know that whatever happens in life, from this place, you can make better decisions, better choices. You can speak more clearly. You're not reactive, you're responsive, but you're responsive based on a knowing inside yourself. That is like, I don't know, maybe the most incredible gift you can give yourself. And from this place, love is not a currency anymore. Love is given. So relationships have a foundation of love because it just is. It's just given because you're a whole person and they're a whole person. You're not trading love all the time. You're not trying to get love off them. You're not doing self-sabotaging acts to try and feel more secure, to stay where you're at, or to stay in this familiar place that may not be comfortable, but it's definitely familiar. So I hope that I've encouraged you, if not to come along to this class on Wednesday night, at least to think about investigating the self-sabotaging and codependent behaviours that you have. Because in that investigation, you might see that there's another alternative, which could completely change your life. Sending you love.